What are you doing? I can't understand you. I don't speak Wookiee.
Dude, are you ready to film gear tasting? Hey guys, welcome to Gear Tasting. Today I want to walk through some stuff that I have done to the 6.5 Precision Rifle build that I talked about previously on Gear Tasting. And there's a lot of stuff to cover, but I really think it's interesting information because I really want to share with you kind of the nitty-gritty behind the scenes of getting a gun ready to perform versus just, buying something out of the box and calling it good. So obviously this gun is a precision rifle build. It was built at Accurate Ordnance, so it's a little bit different from buying something off the shelf, but I'm just kind of drawing the correlation between the things that you'll have to consider when you're getting something together for a precision rifle versus just taking a stock AR, slapping a scope on it or sights and rolling with it. So the first thing I want to discuss is what I've done to the gun since I received it. So when I got it back from Accurate Ordnance, I specifically walked through with you guys what all components came on it when I got it back from Accurate, kind of built to my specs, that I work with some manufacturers to get specific components. But what I've added since that point has been a couple of things. One, I had to adjust the scope, so I had to remount some stuff, and I also checked, I just kind of did a double check on actual torque settings and retorqued some things. I also added like a bubble level, which I'll get into, and the most important thing is the riser or the cheek pad, the cheek rest. So that really needs to be set up specifically to the individual on where your cheek sits, and make sure you have a comfortable view through the scope. So that was one of the first things I did, and I tackled that kind of the DIY way, which is I got some foam. Wait, one. So I had a couple of different types of foam that I tried out as I was doing that. So what I eventually wound up going with is kind of a compressed foam like this. So it's a pretty thick foam, and you can't really tell that it's that thick on the rifle because when it kind of got compressed down with the tape and everything that I put on here, it I don't know, it got a little smaller. So I did try, this is that Kaizen Foam that I went over on a previous gear tasting that I'm kind of retrofitting into my gun case for the gun. But I tried this first, and I just, I started messing with different thicknesses, and I just kept adding to it. And I was like, well, I've got this kind of, I don't know what you call this type of foam, but this is what it looks like. But this one worked out pretty good for me, and I want to talk about the limitations of why this might not be the best choice too. So while this is super comfortable, and even with the 100-mile-an-hour tape that I put on here, it's still super comfortable on my cheek, but there are some limitations. So one of those being that when it comes to cleaning, there's issues. There's nothing in the way of my bolt, my actual bolt, and the release of getting the bolt out of the gun. I can do that easily with the location of where the DIY cheek riser is right now. But I'm also a little nervous about this fact right here. So when I actually pull the bolt out, and this is a bore guide for those of you that might not have seen them. This one's made by Tipton. So it's got 3 different inserts on it. One's large, medium, and small. So medium, they say, is up to 7 millimeters or something like that. So I should be good with that medium size. So once you put that bore guide in here and get it all configured, there's a couple of issues that come up with that. So now if I go to insert a cleaning rod, you can see the disadvantage I'm at with the riser pad too. I'll move this over so you can kind of get a better look at it. So as I'm inserting this, I have to really kind of push down here to get it inserted into the right channel to move through that. And one of the points of having a bore guide is to make sure you guide the rod and the cleaning stuff into the right location. And it's also to prevent sludge and stuff from your cleaning supplies from running into your action and things like that too. It all kind of keeps it contained. But you can see it's kind of at an angle now too. So that's coming down into the chamber at an angle, and there's a couple of things I was kind of aware of when I realized that was going on. So one is, my riser is fixed, it's permanent. I can't really remove and take it off. So what I looked at is there's a company called Karsten out there that makes these adjustable cheek risers. I can't remember which version this is, but I'll put the exact version of this if you're interested in the notes in the description below in the video. But what I like about this compared to some of the others on the market is that, first of all, Karsten's been doing this a long time. He's well known in the precision rifle circuit for making a good made in the US product with this, but it's super thick Kydex too, which I really like. So it's got these basically carriage bolts that fit through the stock. So I would have to permanently drill holes in my stock to mount this, but I'm okay with that because I like the adjustment or the ability to adjust this riser. So once I have it dialed in and set up at the right height for me, I'd then put witness marks on it, and then I'd be able to loosen the screws, drop it to the bottom setting, and now I'd be able to clear that problem that I'm having with the stock. So I drop it down during cleaning and stuff like that. So that's something I'm eventually going to do. I just don't have it done right now. I wanted to go ahead and get this through, the process through with zeroing it and things like that, which is what I've done. So that's kind of the cheek riser conundrum that I'm dealing with right now too. And I wanted to share with that with you because I feel like that's something you guys might run into too. So I'll get into the cleaning supplies in just a second because that's something that I really struggled a little bit with to find all the right components and sizes and things like that, and I want to share that because I think that's good info too. So like I said, got the riser set up, and then I had to adjust the scope once I had everything in place. So one thing that I wanted to pay specific attention to when I was mounting the scope is torquing. So I love this product from a company called Fix-It Sticks. I first found out about this company from Jacob at Rifles Only. He raves about this product, and once I saw him do a little demonstration in our precision rifle class that I went to, I was pretty much convinced that I needed to own a set of these eventually when I got into the precision rifle game. So what these are is this is a kit that's got built-in torque setting. I guess you would call these adapters for a torque wrench. So these are set up for specific torque settings. So this one here is 65. Then they've got this, which is a 1/2 inch adapter, and I'll get into that in a second. Then there's one for 25 inch-pounds. So this is 65 inch-pounds in red, 25 inch-pounds in green. And then there's a 15 inch-pounds in blue. And there's also a 45 inch-pounds in gold. So these are the 4 torque wrenches, so to speak, that come with the kit. So when you have these, you can then put on an adapter like this if you need to go to a 1/2 inch. So if you look at the scope rings themselves, these are from Badger. We've talked about those before. So the actual rings that mount to the scope base, this is a 65 inch-pound torque setting when you're mounting those. So I take that 1/2 inch adapter, which those are 1/2 inch nuts. I then put on the 65 inch-pound torque wrench, and I would take either the T-handle that comes with this kit, or I'll talk about another kit in a second, but all I'm going to do is keep cranking that, and it clicks to let me know that I've got my 65 inch-pounds. And I would do that on both of those. So then I would come up to, once I have my scope rings in the right place, first I would check the scope base, really. You need to check that those screws are properly torqued. Some manufacturers call for 15 inch-pounds on those screws that actually go into the action. Some call for 25 inch-pounds, so you've got kind of options with this kit of putting those together. So there's really no dispute. Lots of scope ring manufacturers suggest 65 on these screws that actually mount the base of the ring themselves to the scope base. And then as you get up and torque the actual top covers for these scope rings, you'll get into a 15 inch-pound torque setting to a 25 inch torque setting. So, when we were at Rifles Only, Jacob was saying that it's just 65 and 25. That's really all you need to remember about a gun. So scope base 25, top of scope rings 25, and then scope rings to base 65. So that's what I've always kind of remembered. And there's a smaller kit that Fix-It Sticks offers too, that's just got the 65 and 25 in it. So you don't have to buy the whole kit. So this one that I have here is a smaller kit, and it's just got the 65 and 25. And then what's good about this too, this kit, is that it's also got, kind of confusing the kits here, sorry. So let's go back to the larger kit. So it's also got bits like hex bits and screwdriver bits and things like that too. So these adapt with those same pieces. So you can use that 15 inch-pound measure. This is the 20 inch-pound measurement to torque different things on guns too. So you're not limited to that. So like for instance, the top of the scope rings, that's a star tool. So I'd find the right star tool that fits that. I would then put it into a 25 like this, come in with my ring here, and that's what I would use to torque those down. So that's kind of the gist of Fix-It sticks. They provide a very lightweight, easy to use torque setting option for the different things that you're going to need to do on your rifle. So that's an important step of the rifle build and something you definitely should not neglect when it comes to that stuff. Torque settings are extremely important. You don't want to have your scope move on you at all. So that's the huge name of the game. The scope can't move, because if the scope moves, your dope changes, everything's out the window, it's no longer precision anymore. So that's kind of the gist of why you want to make sure all that stuff is dialed in and locked down. So another thing that I added is a bubble level. This is a Vortex bubble level, and it's normally supposed to go in an up position so you can see it more at the top here. But to me, as I was on the gun, I found that I was having to look up too much on the bubble level, and I like the positioning here kind of mounted upside down, because I can just glance up without having to kind of increase the angle at which I'm looking to get to that bubble level. And why that's important is you want to make sure the gun is level as you shoot too. So once you set up in your firing position, whether that's from the prone or whatever, you always want to make sure your gun's level when it's on target. So that's kind of the reason for that accessory bubble level. So once I had my scope mounted and everything there done, put on the bubble level and my cheek riser, I was pretty much ready to go out and zero the gun. Hold that thought. One thing I did not mention is, so the other thing that I purchased is the Wheeler level is what it's called. So what this does is, obviously it's important to get the scope aligned and straight whenever you're mounting it. So before you actually torque anything down, you put this little piece here, which has got a magnetic base, into your action. So this fits on the action right there, and you go ahead and level the gun. So you're basically leveling the action to the table that it's sitting on. So once you have that level, then you come up here to the top of the scope cap, or that's pretty much the preferred location for that, and you make sure this scope itself is level with the action before you tighten anything down. So that means the action's level, then your scope is level, and then everything gets torqued down. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm kind of talking through things fast, so I apologize. I'm kind of missing steps here. So once I'd had all that done, like I said, I've got my riser taken care of, I've got the scope placement correct, my cheek weld's right, this distance, the eye relief on the scope is set correctly. I'm now ready to go out and zero, and that's what I did. So I'm shooting Hornady 140 grain ELD match, and that's the bullet that I'm using for the 6.5. Bought plenty of this stuff, but I am actually going to have to buy more before I compete at Mammoth this year. But so this is the 6.5 Creedmoor bullet that it shoots. It's got an extremely good ballistic coefficient, and I believe, I'm going to check in my Kestrel settings for this gun that I put in, but I believe it's a .646 on ballistic coefficient. Yep, .646. So extremely good ballistic coefficient on this bullet versus the 308 that I kind of learned on the precision rifle game, and you guys kind of saw that 308 in previous videos that I was shooting. The ammo performed extremely well. I mean, ammo is ammo, but I went with the 140 grain because of the ballistic coefficient. That's the reason I went with it. And I wanted to have something with a good ballistic coefficient, meaning that it will resist wind changes and things like that better. The higher the ballistic coefficient, the less prone it is to deviation. And that's why I went with the 140 grain. Plus, Hornady's kind of makes the best brass in the game right now for 6.5 Creedmoor. I heard Lapua is working on 6.5 brass, but a lot of reloaders This is the best brass that they're using right now, is the 6.5 Creedmoor brass from Hornady. And I'm eventually going to get into the reloading game. Someone asked me that question on a previous gear tasting. So I'm saving all my brass, and I'm also keeping a shot log too. So to determine barrel life, I'm actually going to keep a log moving forward on this gun, starting from the very first shot I took on it, to know how many rounds I've shot through the barrel to kind of accurately gauge barrel life. That can be tricky to do because it's a tedious thing to keep up with, especially when you're kind of in the heat of the moment shooting. But it is easier to do on a precision rifle than things like an AR or something like that. AR barrels typically, I think the barrel life is somewhere in the neighborhood of 30,000 rounds or something like 20,000, 30,000 rounds. I don't accurately know enough to say right now on this gun what the barrel life is. I did know it one time and just forgot, so I'd rather not misquote it. Anyway, the things that I wanted to go through next are the cleaning stuff, so let's get into that. All right, before I get into kind of the last thing, which is the cleaning stuff I want to talk about, I do want to mention what I did at the range in a little more detail. So the first thing I did once I zeroed the gun, so I got back to the 100-yard line, I zeroed the gun, took me about 5 or 6 shots to do that. Then what I did is I did some chronograph work. So we set up a chronograph and I chronoed the gun. So the chrono was an average, I think I took 6 different measurements on the chrono we were using. I'd like to eventually get a magneto speed, which clips on to the front of the gun. They're pretty accurate, and I've heard a lot of good things about them. We just kind of use the standard chronograph for that. So the chrono average of 6 shots was 27:14. And why that's important is when you're putting that variable into your ballistic software, whether that's through a Kestrel like this or whatever your ballistic solution is, the Knights app that's on phones or something like that, you need a feet per second. So there's nothing wrong with using the quoted FPS that's off the box of ammo. So this one says 2710. So you can see I was pretty damn close on the feet per second that I was getting through the chronograph as to what's stated on the box. But that can change based on your rifle and how it was set up, how it was built. So to me, I don't trust that number. Right? I mean, it's a great guideline, and it was good to see that I was very, very close to it. But I used 2714. I didn't use 2710, which is quoted on the box. So when I put that variable into the Kestrel, that was kind of the one big piece of information that I needed. It also asks you, what range you're at when you zero, when you're putting that into your Kestrel. So once I had that and I had my information plugged in the Kestrel, that's when I kind of went out past 100. So I knew that I was good at 100. I zeroed everything. I used the same fix-it stick system to adjust the turret on the Night Force scope that I have. It's got a 0 set, which means that once I have the elevation that I need and the windage that I need, I actually didn't have to change windage at all. It was set on 0. I actually had a pretty calm day, so it was pretty nice. Good conditions to zero at, so windage stayed at 0. But elevation, I can't remember what I was at, but it wasn't much. It was probably only a mil or 2 off from what it should be. So once I moved that to the correct elevation and got point of impact correct, I then unscrewed the top cap with the little set screws that are here and adjusted it back to 0 and screwed it back down. So that was my 0. So once I had my 0, I moved out to, didn't do my post-shot checklist. I wasn't back on 0. Anyway, once I moved back out to 300 from there, I wanted to confirm 0, or I wanted to confirm at 300. So went to 300 and dialed to 1 mil on the elevation, which was, according to my Kestrel, is where I should have been on my range card, and got a first round hit. So I was pretty happy with the fact that it hit at 300. I then decided to move back to 1,000 with it, and I got a first round hit at 1,000, which is pretty damn cool. It was about I think it was probably a 16 or 18 inch steel plate at 1,000 we were shooting. And to get a first round hit on that's pretty damn good. I was impressed with the quality of that for sure. But so it had me dial on my Kestrel to 10, and that's where I went to. So I was at 10 mils on the elevation, and that's where it hit. And we've talked before about MOA versus mil, so I won't really get into that. But this scope, this Night Force SHV 4-14 first focal plane scope, is a mil scope. So the reticle's mil, and the turret elevation is also mils too. So I was super impressed with the Kestrel, and just to kind of brag on the Kestrel a little bit, I didn't have the kind of success that I had with this gun and the Kestrel with that 308 I was shooting. So there was something off. There was some kind of truing that I needed to do with my data that was preventing me from getting an accurate ballistic solution inside of the Kestrel. So what that means is that when you plug in all your variables, which is what the Kestrel is great at, so it's taking environmental variables and it's giving you a ballistic solution, which means it's telling you what to dial on your elevation to hit a target at a certain distance. Obviously that remains to another part of the equation. You either have to have a rangefinder or know the known distances that you're shooting at to get an accurate measurement with that. But the Kestrel is great on taking environmental conditions into the game too. So I don't really use it much for wind. Once you kind of start reading wind a little bit, it's always a game. That's what kind of Jacob has taught me with that class that I took at Rifles Only. Reading wind is always a guessing game. You're just going to make a more educated guess the more you read wind and dial for it, or sorry, not dial, when you're holding for wind. I don't ever dial for wind. That was a lesson that I learned too. So the different type of data that this gives you from environmental conditions or atmospherics is it gives you temperature. You plug in your latitude of where you're at in the world. It gives you a specific gravity. And then the big thing is density altitude. So that's the number that I always track when I keep my dope. So when I got my dope at 100, 300, and 1,000, I wrote down density altitude. So if that changes, I have those variables in it. And what that allows you to do is then your dope is your dope at that specific density altitude. And when you change environments, go to different elevations and things like that, your DA is going to change. So that's kind of a key variable to keep in mind when you're shooting in different places. So the point of keeping dope and knowing what your elevation was at specific distances in specific places is that you have that record and you build that record with your gun. So as you move to different locations, if something is similar in DA, okay, shit, I have that dope, I know what it is. So that's kind of the atmospherics involved. But then based on those and based on your gun setup, that's how you get your ballistic calculation that you shoot with. So I was super impressed that the variables that I put in equated to first round hits at both 300 and 1,000. So super impressed with that. And like I said, on the 308, there must have been something I was doing wrong on it because I was questioning the Kestrel at first. I was like, well, what's the Kestrel doing that, that everything I'm inputting into it is not giving it the correct solution. So anyway, super impressed with that. So to give you an idea of what you need to put in for the gun itself, so you've got muzzle velocity, which we talked about, it was 2714. You've got a BC value, and that ballistic coefficient is a G1 BC of 0.646, so I plugged that in. A bullet weight, which is 140 grains in this case. You also put in bullet diameter, which the 6.5 Creedmoor bullet diameter is 0.264. Then you put in bullet length, which I had to look up and see what the actual bullet length was on this. So I found a website that's got bullet lengths from just about every caliber. Someone really geeked out about that, so I was super impressed. Bullet length wound up being 1.374 inches. 0 was at 100 yards. The bore height, and then 0 height, and then there's also your units of measurement like mil and things like that. So all those variables get applied into that, and then those are the variables along with the environment that gives you that final solution. And as you're using a Kestrel and that DA is changing and the environmental change is going on, it's actually adjusting your ballistic solution or what your elevation should be on the fly. So you're actually seeing those numbers change as they're kind of changing real time as the day heats up or things like that. So those are some of the benefits of the Kestrel, and that's why I really like it. So this is the Kestrel version with the applied ballistic software in it that allows you to do that. So just a little brag on the Kestrel. So again, I'm going to cut and come back to cleaning supplies. All right, so the last thing I wanted to walk through quickly was the issues that I found as I was trying to accumulate cleaning supplies for the 6.5 Creedmoor. And I had to search around too. I read a lot of internet threads. I was kind of confused a little bit about sizing and things like that. So as I mentioned, the bullet diameter of the 6.5 Creedmoor is 0.264. So when it came to sourcing things, I really kind of had to figure out what size I needed, because a lot of places when you're dealing with cleaning supplies don't specifically say this is for 6.5 Creedmoor or even this is for 0.264. So I kind of had to search a little bit. The The actual brush itself, so the bronze brush that I was using, did say 264. So this one's specifically from Dewey, because I use Dewey a lot. That's a really good brand to use when it comes to cleaning supplies. So this one actually says 6.5-.264 rifle, 8/32 thread. So that was another thing that kind of got me a little bit with thread pitches too, because with cleaning rods there's different sizes for different things. You've got a male end versus a female end. When it comes to those things, like this is your male end, that's your female end, and then the actual cleaning rod itself is a male end too. So that was, believe it or not, that was even hard to tell from some of the places that I was shopping and trying to get parts from for cleaning. I went to Brownells in both Midway and wound up getting everything through, purchasing everything through Midway. So I bought a coated rod, and the rod itself is the Dewey model 22C-36. So that's pretty important because it took me a long time to find that, so I thought I'd share it with you. And it's a coated rod, which means that it won't damage the bore as it's getting pushed through, but if you're using a bore guide, that's really kind of a non-issue anyway. So then I used I got a Parker Hale style jag, and I actually I'm kind of new to that. I got one for the 308 because my buddy Jason recommended it because it was his gun, it's what he wanted it cleaned with, and the dude abides. But what I wanted to do when I got the 6.5 is I looked in the owner's manual that Accurate Ordnance sent me with this thing, and they have a pretty detailed write-up on cleaning the rifle, so I figured I'd kind of play along with what they recommend too, and go through this kind of step by step with what they recommend. So just because they've been doing this game a long time and I haven't, so I wanted to defer to the pros on what to use. So again, so the brush itself was male, and the cleaning rod came with this little kind of female to female adapter. So basically you put that male cleaning rod into the right side of this adapter. So I'm assuming this is an 8/32 thread, and that's different because it only actually screws into one side. And then that other side then fits perfectly into the cleaning rod itself. So then you have your attachment that makes up the bore brush. And then with the Parker Hale style jag, it actually fits directly and threads perfectly onto the end of that cleaning rod itself. So everything just the stars kind of aligned as I got everything, but I was a little unsure. It took me a long time to figure out what to purchase for that. So again, I gave you the model number off the cleaning rod. I don't think there's any model number on the actual bronze brush itself, but it does say 6.5.264, 8/32 thread. And then the actual Parker Hale style jag itself just says that it's model 24C-PH, so I'm assuming Parker Hale style. And then patches, I got patches that are designed for 6 to 7 millimeters, so that covers 6.5. I wanted to be sure that I had the right size patches. And then Accurate Ordnance also recommends this KG1 and KG12. So KG1 is a carbon remover and KG12 is a copper solvent. So those are two products that I'm not really familiar with using much at all. So I'm going to start using those for this cleaning because that's what they recommend. And then they also recommend hops number 9 if you clean with an ammonia-based product, and that's actually how you remove ammonia-based products. So I know that's a lot of information. I apologize for the length of it. Hopefully you guys got some stuff out of it. As you can see, there's a lot more than just getting a gun in and going to the range. So if you set your gun up the right way and you really take your time and do everything correctly, that's really what's important in the precision rifle game, so it'll pay dividends later. All right, guys, let's get into a couple of questions over coffee. So first question is from all of the monkeys on YouTube, who asks, when's the next Questions Over Whiskey? It's actually right now, and it happens more than you might think. So next question. Bryan, what brand of clear storage centers are those behind you? I'm assuming you meant when I was filming over there. I'm trying to organize my gear in my garage. Simplify. Kevin R. from Twitter. Kevin, they are actually from Container Store, and they come in a bunch of different sizes. So I have 3 different sizes that I use. The first is like a men's shoebox size. The second is a sweater box, I believe. And then the third size, I don't know, it's the one that is tall like this. So you can pick those up from Container Store. They're pretty cheap. They range from like $2 or $3 a piece to like $7 or $8 or something like that. So they're pretty inexpensive, and most places around the U.S. have a Container Store near them. If not, I don't really know where to go other than that. So hope that helps you out. Next question is, what's the difference between a patrol pack and an assault pack? So a patrol pack is more like your Alice pack sized pack like this. I tend to think of it more as being able, as a mobility thing. So if I was wearing a big chunky Alice pack like this, my mobility would be severely restricted by the weight that I would probably be carrying in this. Like when I used this pack when I did like the Mammoth Sniper Challenge, and I think I was around 38 pounds or something like that with the gun. So that's what I moved under during that. So the time frame that we were given between stages was like 19 minutes a mile. So that can give you an idea of like how fast you're really moving with that kind of weight. In 19 minutes, we still had to hustle, but you know, we were underweight like that too. So, and then an assault pack, I think of more kind of like a quick mobility type thing, to where this is kind of the size you're dealing with an assault pack. So obviously, you know, much smaller than something big like an Alice pack. So this is an Eagle pack of Rob's that he kind of brought in. So I had a good demonstration for an assault pack. I was kind of looking, and I have a lot of 3-day packs and things like that, but I mean, I really wouldn't consider a three-day pack kind of an assault pack. I mean, I guess you could. It's still lightweight. It gives you mobility, but I still think a 3-day pack is a little large for what I would call an assault pack. I think of assault pack as kind of bare bones necessities too. So it gets you to your action on the objective quickly, allows you quick mobility, allows you to run if necessary, and things like that. So this is definitely more of a size of an assault pack that I would say too. And you know, this obviously just bare bones necessities that you need on the objective. So hopefully that answers your question. Hey guys, thanks for watching Gear Tasting. Remember, if you're digging what we're doing here on Gear Tasting, please consider joining as a crew leader with our membership. It's linked below, and it allows us to give you back something in return for your hard-earned membership dollars. It'll also allow you some perks like a discount on our store and things like that too. Be sure to pick up a Gear Tasting mug if you're interested, and use the pound tag Gear Tasting on any social media network. If you've got questions, we'll find them and get them answered here on the show. Thanks again.